Hello and welcome to Raising the Bar, the go-to podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs looking to elevate their marketing game. Today, we've got a fantastic guest for you. He's playing a major role in redefining property across the UAE and beyond. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Leos Developments. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Gaskin.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
Mark, absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you. And thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm not sure whether I quite live up to that yet, but, I'm trying.
Fantastic. So we've had a little bit of a chat before today, and you've had this fantastic journey.
Absolutely.
Let's go back in time and talk us through that point of that career development from where you began to obviously this major role you now have.
Right, so where I began, I grew up in Ireland, in Dublin. It was in boarding school in Ireland, Castleknock College, and left Ireland when I was 18. My mother moved to London when I was in my early mid-teens. I followed her over to the UK after leaving school. Spent a year actually working in London for an Irish construction company. So that was my first introduction to the construction and development industry. Spent a period of time with them, just about a year. Decided then I wanted to travel. I had all the opportunities in the world in London, decided I wanted to travel. So ended up actually traveling to Morocco, spent a number of months in Morocco, between Tangier, Casablanca, Marrakesh, and all the other beautiful cities, And it was a real eye-opener for me to go to an Arabic country, because growing up in Ireland was quite insular. We didn't, it was a very Catholic upbringing. So you weren't exposed to other creeds or religions at that point in time. So Morocco was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Loved spending my time there. Went over to Spain to earn some money, because we obviously ran out of money in Morocco, even though it was a very simple way of life. But eventually had to eat, so went to Spain, Marbella, as you've lived there yourself, to earn some money. Did that and spent time in the Canary Islands. Back to Ireland after that, then back to London, over to Australia. Always worked in around the fringes of the construction industry, subcontracting. My stepfather had a very large concern in England, which was producing and supplying aluminium windows and aluminium bar lengths to various smaller window companies in the UK. So again, met a huge amount of people and contacts there. Then spent, as I said, up to 3 years in Australia, doing various things, from running restaurants and running a number of restaurants, to working in nightclubs, to the construction industry. So kind of ended up just such different roles. Eventually got back to the UK, back into the construction industry, obviously into development. Started working as basically in construction management as my own contractor. Yeah. And eventually took me up to the time where I worked for a couple of specialist contractors during that period of time, then ended up with Leos. We was working for Leos in London. The CEO turned around to me one day. Asked for a meeting. I was on a different project. Went to meet him for a cup of coffee. It was a Friday afternoon. He said to me, Mark, will you come to Dubai with me next week? So I took a deep breath and went, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Yeah. So I arrived on the Wednesday, ended up in here. I think we were originally meant to be here for a week, ended up here for a month, 5 weeks. Spent the whole time looking at the industry from every angle, looked at the consultants, looked at the developers, looked at the developments. Initially coming over here to have a look at from a construction perspective. Ray was looking at it more from the development and business perspective. So we'd have kind of a balanced view of it. Went back to the UK. Was back in the UK 3 weeks. Ray approached me and asked me if I felt that, in my opinion, should we do something in Dubai, and would I come if he went? I mean, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was at the beginning of August 2022. If you remember, the first time I stepped foot in Dubai was about the 4th of June 2022, and I've been here since.
She moved quick then.
Moved quick. Opportunity presents itself, you got to take it. I mean, I think that people say I'm lucky. I think luck is all about hard graft meeting opportunity.
Exactly.
That's what it's about. It's not, you make your own luck.
Yeah. If you look at people to get lucky,
absolutely.
you don't just find yourself in the right place, you put yourself in the right place.
Exactly. And I was in the right place. And to be fair, Ray gave me the opportunity. I came to Dubai, and as I think I said in another podcast, it really invigorated me. Unlike a lot of the cities in Europe and the UK, they've developed. The cities have developed. This is a developing city, so the opportunities are vast.
Oh, 100%. And you said there, obviously, Leos was founded in
In
the
the UK, 2012.
Yeah, so it was trading in the UK.
Yes.
Where did the company really see with their vision why they wanted to expand into Dubai?
Well, obviously, you could see to a certain degree the writing on the wall in the UK that the industry was starting to slow down a little bit. There's a lot of change of governments. There was Brexit. There was a lot going on at the time. I do think the industry, as I say, was starting to slow down. I think we're looking for other opportunities. I mean, obviously, Ray and the business have been involved in China and New Zealand in the past, and currently still are to a certain degree. Dubai is what I'm looking at, so I don't really have a lot to do with what's going back on. There's still stuff going on in the UK. I mean, obviously, the UK is facing, currently facing a number of economic issues, and the thing that happens is when the economy goes down, the first industry to be really affected is development and construction.
Yeah.
It's kind of the frontline industry. When it's a really good indicator, real estate is a really good indicator of what's going on in the country, as you know, and the interest rates have gone up. So when the interest rates come back down and there's more projects there, everything is starting to cure itself.
Exactly. And over the past few years, we've seen interest rates spike massively within the UK. Just what an impact has that had upon the development sector and construction in general?
Well, I mean, I look at things very simply, from this point of view. You have a husband and wife, working family, 2 children. When they have to make a decision whether they're going to pay their utilities or pay for good food during the winter months, there's a problem.
That's shocking.
Yeah. And yourself, that is what goes on. I think also that when you have married couples living at home with their parents, because they can't afford to rent and save for a deposit for a property, that's another problem.
Yeah.
And that all affects the industry we're in. Because people can't afford to buy the properties, or they can't afford the interest rates, etc. And again, you look at what happened in 2008 when the market collapsed in the UK. I mean, I was in the construction industry at the time, as a senior project manager in a business, really looking at working on sites that were in trouble, and then bringing them through for either the companies or for receivers. So the economic issue, the economic problems at that time were mainly down to RBS and the banks. They caused this massive problem, and then suddenly there was thousands of people losing their jobs with no other skill sets but working in banks and working in offices. Of course, the effect of that is that with paying your council tax and the various other bills that you have, just various other taxes you have in the UK, besides paying your mortgage, something's going to give. So people were losing their properties, they couldn't afford to pay for them. Then a number of years later, after obviously things have got better, those people, both of them were in work, and you're going to buy another property, but you can't buy a property because you haven't got a credit rating, because the bank will not give you the money, because you lost your house back in 2008.
Yeah.
Even though it was our fault, we're still not going to give you the money. And even if we do give you the money, we're going to charge you an extraordinarily high rate of interest. So, this is what happens. And it's very difficult for, I guess, your normal working man to be able to keep up with inflation, taxation, and everything else that goes with it.
Even beyond your working man, you see stories these days of lawyers in London where 2 people have a good income and they still can't afford the basic standard of living.
Absolutely.
Like, it's crazy now when you actually think people still talk about 100k a year as though it's a load of money.
It's not.
We're in London, people are struggling to feed a family on that,
Absolutely.
which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think also you look at that you get that problem in the UK where, and Ireland and various other European countries, I guess, that, I know guys my age and 10 years younger who they're trapped.
Yeah.
Because you say you get professionals, lawyers, or accountants, or various other professionals within industry. They get up in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. They drop the kids to school, or the wife drops the kids to school. They walk to the train station in the big coat, in the rain. They get on the train. They have to take the coat off because it's too hot on the train. They go into London. They spend upwards to 8 o'clock in the evening in that office. Then go back outside, get the coat on because it's freezing cold. Get in the train, take the coat off because it's too hot. Miserable existence. Get home, walk back or get the car back home. And that's the hamster all the time. And suddenly they hit 45. It was great when they were in university and thinking, this is going to be my career. Suddenly hit 40, 45, and they think, I've got 20 more years of this before I can retire. I need to change this. But I can't change this because I've got the mortgage on the fantastic house. I've got the finance on the beautiful cars, and the kids are in private school. If I try and change now, I don't have any options. Yeah. So you've got no options. So for me, myself, I wake up every day thinking how lucky I am. Exactly. To a certain degree, I've escaped that. You know, I'm divorced. I've still got a very healthy relationship with my ex-wife. I've got a fantastic 19-year-old daughter who comes to see me she loves it 3 or 4 times a year. Dad, I'm coming to Dubai. Send me a ticket. Yeah?
You probably see more of it now.
Yeah. I work for a great company. I'm in a very good position. I have some great people working for me. I enjoy going to work every day. It's fantastic.
And you've got this unique view where you've worked in the UK sector. Yeah. You've been involved in construction Australia, Ireland, and now you're in the UAE. Yeah. You mentioned earlier just how different it is out here. It's fast-paced, it's visionary. Yeah. What have been those key differences in the UAE market compared to what you've experienced in other markets?
With regard to my personal journey? With
regards to really how the company, the ability to move quick.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very fast-paced. I mean, for example, the very simple thing, the planning process here is, I could buy a piece of land and be on site in 4 to 6 months. Yeah, here.
Really? Yeah.
UK, could be 2 years.
Yeah.
Right, you buy the piece of land, you don't know what you can build. Here, when you buy the piece of land, you know what you can build. Now, you will tweak that and play around with it to get the maximum you can out of it, which is fine, but you know your parameters. In the UK, you don't know your parameters till you ask the government, can I do this? Yeah. Well, no, you can't do that. Try again.
Here, the government have already, still a plot of land, and the government have said exactly what's going to be allowed on there.
But also, you know, in a lot of countries, developers are the bad guys, aren't they?
Well, they're robbing the green belt.
Yeah, they're robbing the green belt. Here, we're the good guys.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. I mean, the support we have from the government, the support we have from, Dubai in general. And for me, I really, really admire Sheikh Mohammed. The vision that he has for the growth of this city, and the support that he gives the private developers to help build that city, you don't see that a lot. You don't see that around the world. The vision for Dubai is an ongoing thing. I know we're talking about 2040, but it's ongoing. I envisage, a global finance, to be a globally recognized center of finance as well.
100%.
And that kind of vision is it's not common.
No.
It's not common. And then in order to fulfill that vision, he said, everybody comes to Dubai. You all have opportunities here, right? We're going to work with you. You work with us, we work with you, and we get the city built. So for me, it's legacy anyway, because, this is probably the last place I'm going to work. Yeah. I'm not getting any younger. There's a lot I want to do here. And again, it's a simple legacy, isn't it? For me, construction and development is very tangible.
Yeah.
Right? You can work in other markets and do other things. But for me, people go, what did you do last year? I did that last year. You see that building there? That's what it is. So it's a very tangible result. So in 20 years' time, maybe I'll be gone. Yeah. Maybe
you'll still be there.
I'll have shuffled off this mortal coil, but my daughter will be driving in the street with my grandchildren going, your granddad built that. Yeah. So that's very important to me as well. And so, for me, that's, so building the quality that we build is to make sure that legacy lasts.
Yeah. And one of the points you said there I thought was really interesting, because you said about the support the government give to private developers.
Yeah.
And you would think that in other countries, maybe that support would be aimed at, if you look at Dubai, it would be they were supporting Emaar or Nakheel.
Yeah.
But there's still very much that support for smaller private developers as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think what they understand is that variety is the spice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it makes your city interesting. If you're going to go with just one, one developer or two developers, you're not going to. And of course, more and more now, where you're having a lot more professionals coming to Dubai with different ideas and different processes and AI involvement and technology in buildings, etc., etc., all coming into Dubai. People are now recognizing globally that Dubai is a center, and and also you have a melting pot. There's 220 different nationalities in one city. Crazy. 220. Repeat it. 220 nationalities in one city, and it's peaceful. Where else? If you think about it, there's nowhere else. Okay, so you have all that mix of cultures, that mix of ideas, those conversations with people. I've met people here that I would never have met in my life. Yeah. Nationalities I would never have met in my life unless I come here. It's opened up an opportunity to me in one city, to understand the global vision, understand what other people want, understand what other nationalities want. And really, what it's brought home to me is that we all want the same thing. Right? No matter what our differences are, we all want the same things. So, my daughter, as I said, is 19. And one thing I said to her a little while ago was that when you go to other countries and you meet other people from different nationalities, no matter what that is, I said, people tend to highlight the differences. I said, what you need to do is look for the similarities. Because if you look for the similarities, you recognize that we're not that different. We all have the same aspirations. We all have children. We all want the best for our children. We all want to live a good life. It's not that different. It doesn't matter where you're from. Yeah. It doesn't matter what your creed is. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. We're really, our aspirations are all the same.
Exactly. And like you say, it's so interesting when you do think of other countries where we struggle to get on with each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, in Dubai, we can do it with so many other people, And looking at, going back 10, 20 years, there was...
Let me just give you an example. So something I found really, really, really funny over here. I only learned over here how many Indian Catholics there were.
It's a lot.
Huge amount.
Huge amount, yeah.
I went to, unfortunately, one of my colleagues, I'm quite close to, had a bereavement in the family. And I went to a church service on Saturday down in Dubai, I think it was in one of the Catholic churches. And I never realised that outside Ireland, for example, or Italy, where you expect it to be so Catholic, it's a huge Catholic population in India. Yeah. So you it's a learning experience as well. I'm 57 this year. 57, you can edit that bit. 57 this year. And I'm still learning. Yeah. And Dubai's given me the opportunity to learn.
And you do learn so much about different nationalities here, like you said, and even with things like Indians and Pakistanis at home, they've always had problems. You see them on TV, etc. In pretty much every office in Dubai, there are Indians and Pakistanis working side by side in complete harmony.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like if you look at us, for example, the different nationalities of the Arab nations we've got. Because we've got Syrians, Jordanians, Egyptians, and so on and so forth. So every different nationality, when you're not here, you don't realize that mix, Yeah. And everybody gets on well. Everybody's doing their thing. Yeah. And that's what's important,
And we'll move on to some of the fantastic developments you're doing later on.
Yeah.
But with the points you discussed there, when you're doing these developments, do you have to give thought to different nationalities and their preferences? Because people want the same thing. Are their tastes slightly different? The way people want to live? Or do you think it's quite similar within the UAE?
I think it is quite similar, to be honest with you. I think that, of course, there's Vastu, which is the Indians like a kitchen facing a certain direction. I'm not going to guess at it. Yeah, but and various other things. It's like a feng shui. Yeah. But I don't see that there's anything that sticks out, that there's an issue with that. People think we need to have this or we need to have that. But of course, I think we build in Dubai in line with what the architect. So we weren't arrogant enough to think that we're going to do all our architecture in London, all our design in London, and put it in Dubai, and it'll be brilliant because we did it in London. That's not what we thought. Yeah. We brought a team over. We still have a team in the UK, but what we've done, we've also got teams here, project teams, design teams, architecture teams. So we just tried to mesh that and make it so we could, our ideas that we had from the UK, we could realizing Dubai.
Yeah.
With understanding what was happening in Dubai, and just to make sure we weren't causing a problem, for example, with missing things that we should have in a building that they would normally have in a building over here that we wouldn't have in the UK.
Yeah,
you know?
And I think for British people, that's always been a great input we can have in Dubai. And this is the visionary city.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things happening, but attention to detail can sometimes lack.
Absolutely.
I think as the British, we're very good at being quite structured, disciplined, doing things on time, the basics.
I drive everybody mad with that expression, the devil is in the detail.
Yeah.
I drive everybody mad. And everybody in the business will quote that. That's what Mark always says. Yeah? Because the way I look at it is this. If you get the detail right, that's what's important. The reason why is because all the big pictures are made up of little details. So if you get all the little details right, the big picture will be right. Yeah. So you have to concentrate on any part of the business. You know, whether it be in finance, whether it be in projects, sales operations, sales. If you get the details right, it works.
Exactly.
You know, that is the most important thing.
None more so than construction.
Absolutely.
If you don't get the details
Absolutely.
right, it goes wrong. And the level has just increased so much in Dubai over the past even 5 to 10 years. Because I think if we look back 20 years ago, we can see some of the construction done out here was maybe not the highest quality.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, I saw that in 2022 from visiting so many buildings. And you could almost date the buildings by the quality of the finishing, for example, because you could see how it was getting better and better and better. Or so I'd see a building that was built 10 years ago compared to a building that was built 5 years ago compared to a building that was built a year ago. And you could see that progression through the building. And it's just getting better and better. And again, because there's so many people coming in from outside, those ideas, the frameworks of how they do it, it just all adds to the quality of a building. It all adds to the quality of the teams that are looking at the teams that are on the coalface, watching the detail, making sure things are right. You know, and we spend time. I was down at Saturday. I was at Hadley Heights, then Weybridge Gardens 1, then 2, 3, and I went around all the sites on Saturday morning. I drive around. It's no traffic because it's easy, you know. And Hadley Heights is going to be delivered in June, which is about 3 months early, because it's getting to crunch time now, it's getting handover time soon. So I wanted to be sure and have a good look. I was down there with the CEO at Ray to have a look at where we were and things that we need. If there was anything else we needed to add to it, anything else we needed to do, make sure we're following we were in the right direction for delivery in June. You know.
And I mean, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people watching, listening, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
I cannot even get my head around that process from looking at some of these buildings into Dubai.
Yeah.
As from where they started.
Yeah.
To the end. Like Weybridge is a big project, isn't it?
Well, sorry, Weybridge. No, we've got Weybridge. So we purchased a plot in DLRC. I think it was late 2022. We had the Heights first in JVC in September. And then quite rapidly after that, we took the plot in DLRC. And that was Weybridge Gardens. Yeah. We've now got Weybridge Gardens 2. We've now got Weybridge Gardens 3 and Weybridge Gardens 4, right? And you can see the progression of the design over the 4 projects. And the detail, but you can see it's a Leos building. Yeah. From the inception, from 1 all the way through. And, you know, we're probably, I think we're the largest developer in DLRC at the moment because we've got more stuff coming up. So, and the nice thing about DLRC is that because there's a lot of other developers in there as well, and Ellingtons are in there, and Samana are in there, various other companies and all the construction started roughly around the same time. That I think that community is going to mature quickly and together. So you're going to have a mature community in DLRC, Dubai Land, by 2028, 2030. Kind of a finished community. Whereas you looked at, when I first came to JVC, where we put our first one, I got out of the car that Saturday morning and went,
where'd they drop me?
What's going on here? So you'd have an old building, then this beautiful new building, then a patch of desert, a patch of desert, and a patch of desert, another building. So I think, JVC is going to take more time to join it all up, to finish it. And it's going to become the first, I think JVC will become the first suburb of Dubai.
Yeah, I think Dubai Land though, everyone says that's the place with the most potential, isn't it? You think
It
of
is.
it right next to Dubai Hills,
Yeah.
easy transport, and like
Yeah.
you say, it's actually already loosely starting to get
Yeah.
that community feel where you can
Yeah.
imagine families, young
absolutely,
couples.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a, you know, I'm a little bit. I think of DLRC as ours. It's Leos, that's us down there. Yeah, I just feel that we kind of perhaps didn't jump in first, but it looks like we jumped in first. And then talking about it when I was talking to Ray about let's buy some more land here, and we've progressed, and we've done well, and it you can recognize Leos in DLRC, if you understand what I mean. It's kind of part of our legacy will be building those buildings, and again, build to a degree, be part of a large part of building that community. Yeah. That's the way also we think about each building we build, not just about the townhouses and villas, but if we keep in mind that every building we build is its own community, so you have the right amenities in there, you have so people can be very comfortable in the home that they buy. Not just the house that they buy, the lifestyle that they buy, not just the four walls. And that's the way we think about it when we design it, when we put the amenities in. So it is a home somebody's buying.
Yeah. And I loved what you said there about when you look at it, you can tell it's a Leos building.
Yeah.
Because it shows so much pride in what you do.
Absolutely.
Dubai is so competitive with developers. When you and the CEO and the rest of the team are sat around the table, how do you say to yourself, what makes this a Leos building?
I think it's the attention to detail, the architecture, the interior design. There's a lot of different elements in there, and it's what makes a Leos building is the team. Yeah. The team make it a Leos building. It's not me, it's not the CEO, it's not any kind of one individual. It's the team that we have there between London and Dubai that give it that Dubai, Leo signature. Let's say Leo signature. I think it's when you're talking about that, Ray was with me in the car. I was driving, and we had the driver following us, but I had my own car there, so we're driving around, and during the conversation I remember just saying to Ray, "Remember 2 years ago?" It's like I said, 2 years ago. Now it's like there's Hadley Heights, there's Weybridge Gardens 1, there's Cavendish Square and JVT, there's Weybridge Gardens 2, 3, and 4. There's Kensington Gardens, and there's Knightsbridge in Maidan. So it's just like, but June 2022, there was nothing here. So I have to sometimes sit back and think about that. The journey that we've had since we've been in Dubai has just been incredible. Yeah. But you're so busy sometimes that you don't get we're so busy all the time that sometimes you have to kick back, take a deep breath and think, wow. Yeah. And where else in the world can you do this? Where else in the world can you do this? Nowhere.
Yeah. And I guess that's beautiful. Like you said before, not many people get that ability to actually see their hard work come up in front of them.
Exactly.
But you've got that tangible thing where you can look at something and go, you didn't do it single-handedly, but I played a major part in what stood in front of me. Yeah. You mentioned Knightsbridge there. We've got to touch on Knightsbridge because this is a one-of-a-kind project, isn't it?
Yeah, Knightsbridge is beautiful. Yeah. Knightsbridge is unique. I think it's over in D11, Maidan D11, made up of 2 plots, which are phase 1 and phase 2, both under the name Knightsbridge Park. Townhouses, 5-bedroom villas, and 6-bedroom villas. Phase 2, the 6-bedroom villas are kind of super villas. They're very large. Very unique design. The whole team was involved in both the design and then the interior design, the layouts of the inside of the buildings. There's an elevator in every building. There's a swimming pool in every garden. Lots of balconies and terraces. Lots of family space. One of the things we did in most of them, which I I heavily influenced, was putting the master suite on the top. Yeah. So you can lock the kids downstairs. So you have your own space. And I think that's really important in a city like Dubai, where everything is so fast-paced, that you have a space which you can call your own. Yeah. Space which you can relax with your partner and just, that was crazy. and then you get up for the next day.
Yeah.
So I think, we thought about that. We thought about the lagoons that are in there, the amenities, because, I know there's a lot of projects with water in them. I think that's really important because I think it's very calming. Whenever I get an opportunity, I'm beside the sea. I grew up beside the sea in Ireland. I lived beside the sea, obviously in Morocco and Spain, and then in Australia. I used to swim literally every morning when I was working as a bricklayer's labourer. He'd pick me up at 6:30 in the morning. We'd go straight to the beach. We'd surf or swim, depending on what the surf was like, till 7:30. Go straight to site, work till 3 o'clock, and then back to the beach. So the sea is a part of me. The oceans are a part of me. So it's a very calming influence. So whether everything gets too much, just go down and sit beside the sea. Just listen to it, watch it, and it just calms me down. So I think having water in any development lends that kind of space for contemplation, let's say.
Yeah, just a nice quiet spot.
Yeah.
And obviously Knightsbridge is focused quite heavily on wellness as well, isn't
Yes.
it? And that's one of, I think, the biggest trends I've seen since I've been in Dubai is when I moved here, it was still quite in that mentality of everyone was out an awful lot. Everyone was out partying, socialising, etc.
Yeah.
Over the past couple of years in particular, there's been this massive shift towards wellness and people wanting to be part of a community.
Absolutely.
Everyone, when I was first here, it was almost everyone for themselves to some extent. But now people long for that community, which are two aspects you've really focused on with Knightsbridge, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that comes, from the community aspect and wellness. If you think about it, so you played rugby in the UK. I played rugby, obviously, in Ireland all my life, and then the UK, etc. You found that your community was based around the people that you played rugby with, yeah? The people that, even in the UK before I came here, I used to do a lot of running, a lot of semi-competition races, rat races, and various other things. And most of my friends did those races. So we used to train together, we used to socialize together, and your life was really around that. So it was around wellness as well, And I think the association between community, wellness, and fitness has got stronger and stronger over here. And people are starting to understand that it's a better way of life. And you wake up fresh in the morning, you go and train, you go to work. So mentally it's better for you as well as physically better for you. Being able to go home in the evenings and relax in a community where you feel comfortable, where you can brush off the problems from the day, and you can sit outside with the family and sit by the water or just relax within the community with your friends and your neighbours, etc. I think that's a really important thing. I think also that coming from the UK and from Ireland, neighbourhoods were very strong. You're from Manchester, I'm from Dublin. Yeah. Same kind of thing though, same in Liverpool, same in London, that your neighbourhood and your neighbours were such an integral part of your life as you grew up with your friend. You're always in there to your friend's house, weren't you?
Oh, yeah,
the door was always open. I remember my grandmother, even after, she lived in a road called Vernon Avenue, it was 105 Vernon Avenue, everybody used to call it 105. But even after my uncles had left, and I was young, my father's and uncle's friends would stop by for a cup of tea with my grandmother. Yeah. Because they'd been in and out of the house all their lives, so it was like almost a surrogate mother. And, that's the way it works. So I think that neighbourhood thing is what we've tried to, to bring into the community as much as we possibly can.
And I don't think Dubai really had that overly until recently. No. Maybe Jumeirah Gulf Estates, there's a lot of English people up there socialising together. Yeah. I know a few people have said over some of the new developments have been quite like young families moving together. But on the whole, you can end up you're living next to people from a completely different world, aren't you? So
exactly.
There's not that much.
Exactly.
And with something like Leos Developments, I guess it's really a case of predicting what people want 3, 4, 5 years in advance. It's quite tricky.
Yeah, predicting but what is that about? Because I don't think that's changed. Yeah. I don't think that historically that's ever changed. Yeah. We still, as I said to you before, looking at the similarities between various nationalities, similarities between various people, the wants of people and what people want to achieve in their lives and what people want in their daily life has never changed. I mean, you want security, you want safety, you want your family to be safe, you want to have enough to live a good life. And what is a good life what is enough to live a good life? I think you have the opportunities here to both work and earn that money to have a good life. But we've always wanted that. You know, you want to live in a nice community. You want to be able to say good morning to your neighbour. So I don't think that I don't think that's changed. I think you've just had to. I think it's gone through a period that it's got more difficult, right? It hasn't. The desire hasn't changed, but to actually put that desire into reality has got more difficult with big cities and you know, people living in tower blocks where nobody sees each other except in the elevator sometimes. You don't walk out in your garden and see the guy next door like you do in the UK, you know, the kids playing football in the back garden, or you don't see that. But I think more and more, that's what people want. And that's what the townhouse and villa communities, to a degree, give back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Kensington, which is down near Silicon Oasis, that's a typical example because we have, you know, for example, there we have 168 townhouses and villas of varying sizes. We've got 3, 4, and 5 bedroom townhouses, 6 bedroom villas, and 7 bedroom villas. But the price ranges from 3.2 to I think 8.5. So that's quite a good price range. You know, it's not a huge amount of money for a 3 bedroom.
It's good for Dubai.
Yeah. Townhouses, as I say. And you know how we grew up in the UK. You know, you are in Ireland. You get to a point that you get your own flat.
Yeah.
It's tiny. You meet your partner. You might be getting a bigger flat. You get married. There's a child on the way. Oh, we need to get a house.
Yeah.
So it's all a stepping stone. Yeah, you to the first house, and then you know you become more successful. You have more children. You need a bigger house. So, and then you maybe by your mid-30s you finally settle in one place. And I guess that hasn't happened here, but it's starting to happen. That people are understanding this is my journey. You know, to where I want to get to, and once I've reached that point, I'm happy.
Yeah, you've got to do the stepping stone.
So, and it's the same internationally, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And like we said before, you're in this wonderful position of getting to see your creations come to life. I can also imagine as COO, it's a high pressure environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if one of these projects doesn't hit delivery time, you're the man with the blame.
Exactly. To a certain degree. I mean, that's why we've got a chief project officer as well.
Pass that on.
It's your fault. No, but look, if you all were, you know, it's just about teamwork. It's just about, you know, and I've always said within the business, you know, there's no silos. Yeah. None of the teams are an island, right? You touch the project from the start, you're responsible till the end. Yeah, you're all part of this. You recognize a problem, don't keep it to yourself because you think you might get blamed. You got to share that problem, because if you share the problem, then we come up with a solution. So for me, with problems within the business or problems with anything, my philosophy, shine a light on that problem. Yeah. If you shine a light on that problem, we get around that problem, we can deal with it. We can get it sorted quickly. What I see happening sometimes over here is, oh, there's the problem. Let's put that into the corner and we can blame somebody else for that later. Yeah, that's not the way to do it.
Is that why, when you historically look at off-plan developments and things being passed over significantly after projected completion date, do you think that's with people just not bringing errors to light earlier? There's been like a behind-the-scenes reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, there can be a blame culture as well, to be fair. So I do think people get nervous. They think, you know, that's not directly my problem, so let somebody else deal with it. If I pretend I don't know it's there, well, I can't get blamed for it, you know? So the best form of defense here is silence. Let me just say nothing, and then it can't be my problem. So that can happen. And also you have to look at, in any booming economy like this, with regard to development, for example, you get a lot of people come into Dubai, and you ask anybody, what is the easiest business to get into that's going to make the most money? Everybody goes real estate, right? So they see these people have money. They see these buildings going up, and they think, I don't really want to buy and sell flats. Why don't I build a building? You get a consultant, get a contractor. I'll be the client. I'll make lots of money. Now that just doesn't work, because you got to keep your hands in everything. You got to keep your eyes on everything. Luckily, we came here as developers. Mm-hmm. To develop here. So we might be new to Dubai, we're not new to development. So the principles are basically the same. Yeah. So, but as I said, you see people coming in, they see opportunity. Do you remember during the, I think it's probably the late 80s, 90s, when the property boom was in London, yeah? Do you remember those shows on TV about people would buy a property, do it up, and then sell it at a huge profit.
I wasn't born till 1990s. I didn't see that one.
Okay. You had a hard paper round.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. My hair's hanging by the wind. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, during the booming economy, and obviously property is on the increase, that the price of property is going up in price all the time. So what people were doing was they're buying a property. They were putting a new kitchen in, painting it up, doing this, a bit of an extension on, and they sell it at what they thought was a vast profit. And they think, well, I did that. I was like, no, you didn't do that. The market did that.
Yeah.
Because if you'd bought that property and kept it and did nothing for 2 years, you probably would have still made the same percentage of gain. But all you've done is you've bought that property, it's like 500,000. You've put 200,000 into it, and you've sold it for 900,000. You've made 200,000. Yeah. If you bought it at 500,000, left it for the same period of time, you probably would have got 700,000. So you still would have made 200,000 and done nothing with it. So it was kind of that everybody thought they were making money. It wasn't. It was the market was moving on so rapidly that's why they're making the money, which was driving it. Just like over here, when you buy a property at an off-plan stage and you see it gets to a point of 2 months before handover. Well, what happens is you buy the property, and the moment construction starts, it's going up in value anyway, but you can see the increase in value when construction starts, and all the way through the construction phase, the increase of the resale of that property. When it gets to 40%, they can resell, they can flip their property. But it gets to a point that it's just before you get into construction. And then if you sell it, then you're going to make that money. Yeah. You're going to make that money back because the market has moved. Yeah. So that's how a lot of people make money over in property, is the market has moved on in that year and increased by maybe 20, 25, 30%. So it's not really anything you've done except bought the property. Yeah.
Does it require much skill, does it?
Yeah. It requires some money. And of course, to a certain degree, it does require some knowledge and a little bit of skill to pick the right, but it's not that hard. And that's what I'm saying. In the UK, the same thing happened. It wasn't the skill or the craftsmanship they put into the property. It was just the market moved. Yeah. So they benefit from the market.
No. And in Dubai, the off-plan market's been so successful in that people have got this trust factor to invest in it. The properties do get delivered. If you look at other places, we both know Marbella, how many buildings are sat half built there.
Well, that collapsed for a while, didn't it? Spain, there was like they were knocking down buildings. The taxes went crazy.
They cancelled all planning permission for a while, and obviously financially as well. Yeah. But in Dubai, have the government put a lot of legislation in place to really make sure that it is high quality developers, it is people who deliver?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Look, you're always going to get an element of cowboys, I guess, to a certain degree, or people, and maybe not deliberately. They're not going. I don't think they're going into this with the intention of I'm going to stitch all these people up and make a whole lot of money and run away. I don't think that's the intention. I think they want to be successful, but number one, maybe they haven't got the skill set when they go in there. They think it's very easy, and it's not easy. It's. I always think of it as two ways to describe it. It's a science mixed with an art. Yeah. And to be a developer, I think you need to be very passionate about what you do with a good commercial sense, with a good equal balance, So the government, obviously, with the situation with off-plan sales, which we're not used to from UK or Ireland. You see the apartment, then you look at it, and then you buy it. Off-plan sales is not a big thing. It was treated quite suspiciously overseas, I would think. But the temptation, once you've sold the building out, to just look forward to the next building and not look back at what you're doing can be great.
I never thought of that. It's very true, isn't it? Once you've got your money, you're on to the next project,
So, I mean, you have to have a long-term view of it. So, we want to deliver. Because, when we've delivered Hadley Heights, our kudos goes up. Yeah. When we deliver Hadley Heights, where the customer turns... So what I want to hear is, we've got a fantastic new apartment from Leos, and it was a joy to deal with them. Yeah. That's all I need to hear. Yeah, that's all I need to hear. And once that's on the market, it just elevates our brand. Yeah. So you have to think about that. You have to think about that all the time, the finishing, as we said, the small details. But I think also the obviously with the situation of off plan, because as a developer you're taking payment up front for something that's not there. Yeah. So the government, RERA, have put in the escrow account. So the escrow account, all the money from the that's paid by the client is going into that escrow account, and that escrow, we can't take money out of that as profit or for us. What actually happens is that is only used towards the construction of the building. So there's a process in place that the main contractor will invoice us. Then we have to, so then at that point, the authorities look at the percentage of the build of where it is. That's got to line up. The invoices, the payments are checked by and signed off by the authorities before we can pay, before it comes out of the escrow account.
And so you can't take your profit until handed over?
No. It's got to be handed over and done.
So the actual Leos developers can't put any of their profit
into
that building's...
No, that's all locked in escrow account.
It's fascinating. I didn't know
Which
that.
is, to be fair, it's a really good system because the client is safe. So, so that all contributes to sales because the client feels comfortable and safe with that there. He knows he's been looked after by the UAE government and his money's been looked after. And probably one of the largest investments he will ever make as an end user. As you know, same in the UK, same in Ireland, the largest investment you will ever make is in a property. So RERA and the government have tied it up so the consumer is safe. Which makes it a lot easier for us as well, because then we don't get people constantly, what's happening with this? What's happening? A bit worried. Where does the money go? Everybody knows where the money goes. It goes into the escrow account, right? It can only be paid out to our contractors who are building the building. So that we're paying out of that escrow the people that are putting the bricks on top of the bricks, painting the walls, putting the plaster on, all that. That's who gets paid.
I never knew that.
Well, that's how
it's great to know,
Yeah.
We spoke a lot about the fantastic setup here in Dubai, ideas like that are just brilliant. Are there any, as the CEO, any major challenges you faced that are things you wouldn't usually experience in Dubai that are kind of unique to the UAE?
I don't know. That's a really hard question. I mean, let me think about that one. So this is the way I'll answer it, right? I can't think of any. Maybe there are some, but I can't think of any because the balance of good outweighs that so much that you don't even recognize it. Do you understand?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like the opportunities and the solutions far outweigh the challenges.
It's like if you go on a date, if she's 90% great, you were
exactly.
ignore
So
the odd red flag, don't you?
So it's every day is a challenge because we challenge ourselves every day. So when you're challenging yourself every day, it's a different thing. To get better, to make the business stronger, to do more, to grow, to elevate the brand. Yeah, if you don't challenge yourself, as I always say, if you're standing still, you're going backwards. If you're standing still, you're going backwards. You need to be moving forward all the time.
No. I watched this great video the other day, actually. It said, a plane can't just stop in midair.
No, exactly.
So it's either, because people get to an idea where they go, I'm quite happy at this level. I wouldn't mind staying here. But they're like, the minute you stop going forward, you're dropping out the sky.
Exactly. And, that becomes more prevalent every day. Because there's so many people coming in. And it's what, competition is so healthy because competition just makes you better. It just makes you better.
100%.
I love, as I say, I love competition. And you play sports, I play sports. So even in the sporting world, I love competition. It drives me forward. In business, competition drives me forward. In what we do every day with the other developers out there, that competition drives us forward. We relish competition.
And in your industry, having multiple people doing it well, there's no point you being a great developer if every other building around you's shockingly bad. You need quality throughout.
Exactly. You need quality throughout because you're building, every building we build is part of a community. It's a piece of a community. And look at the LRC, we have 4 buildings down there at the moment and possibly more. So we are a large part of that community, So I would, with the beautiful buildings that Leo's put down there, I don't want, a load of rubbish around it. And I'm sure there won't be. And then again, when somebody else builds a beautiful building, it drives me on. Let's do something Let's do something more. Yeah? It's like, and that all benefits the end user.
Yeah.
You know, the competition within our industry benefits the end user.
Yeah. And we've seen that time and time again, even in the short period I've been here, where people were living a few years ago, the level's just been elevating. You see, even with some of them old buildings in the marina and stuff, people don't want to be there anymore.
Exactly.
Because there's always something new, there's always something shiny.
Yeah.
One of the things you've mentioned throughout today as kind of a resounding message has been the importance of the team.
Yes.
You said time and time again that this quality, this consistency all comes down to them. You were with Leos right since the very beginning in Dubai.
Yeah.
What have you really set out to do to build that culture within the company?
It's communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's communication. It's letting everybody know that they are a part of this, that, you know, their contribution is important, right? That, you know, I couldn't do what I do without the teams that we've got. Other teams couldn't do what they need to do without the other teams. Individuals can't do what they do without the support of the individuals in their team. So, you know, it's supporting that. It's making that work. You know, the other thing is that the most important thing to me is not brilliance. The most important thing to me is consistency.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can establish consistency within teams and within the people that work for you, you're always going to get the right result.
Yeah.
Yeah? Brilliance is fantastic. It is fantastic, but it can be disruptive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah? So consistency, I think, is the key. It's like training.
Oh, yeah.
It's about just being consistent.
Yeah.
People go, how will I get fit? Be consistent. Which means be consistent. Go to the gym 5 days a week. Go for 30 minutes. Don't go 2 days a week for 3 hours and be amazing. No, consistency is what gets you fit and keeps you fit. Consistency, what grows a business. Yeah, so for me, it's about consistency.
Exactly. And even there's so many things that you can do to perform at a high level that don't require talent.
Yeah.
Just require consistency.
Exactly.
And hard work.
And it is hard work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, for example, boxing. I always use this analogy. I always change stuff over to sports. But this analogy that you see extremely talented boxers.
Yeah.
And then you see boxers with a little bit of talent, but work really hard every day, right? They'll be the ones that win in the end. Because, you know, I sometimes think that when you're extremely talented, unfortunately, the downside of that, it makes you lazy.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it can make you lazy. And with just a little bit of talent, a lot of hard work, I think that's the combination that you need.
And for me, what I always say to people is I think Dubai, out of any place I've ever been, rewards hard work more than anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you look at the UK, you know, there might be some people who've got a leg up from their family, or they kind of go into that job because they know someone. Everyone in Dubai is largely in the same boat. And you've come here on your own. You come here to make your own name.
That's it.
And it is literally like there is a direct correlation. Like there's no shortcuts. You work hard, you get your reward.
Oh no, absolutely. Because you know, at the end of the day, when you look at if you look at Europe and you look at back to the UK and Ireland again, that you have establishment.
Yeah.
Right. There's an establishment there, and there's there's generations of establishment and various industries and business that are all established through various families and you know, landowners, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very hard to break through some of those barriers, I guess. Yeah. Here, it's not here. Yeah. Right. The opportunity is now. You can get to where you want to. You know, you have the opportunity here to do that. There's no barriers to break through. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter, you know, where you've been. The opportunity is right now. Yeah. So you just do the best you can now to get where you want.
I love that.
That's the way I think it is.
So we talked about the now. I'm going to give everyone a big headline figure now, which I'm sure you're going to tell me if I get wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the minute, Leos have got over $540 million in development pipeline.
Yes.
That is a huge, huge number.
Yeah, yeah.
Out of all those projects, which one is exciting you the most at the minute over the next few years?
I got to be honest with you. It's not a case of any one of them exciting me more than the others. They're all unique, yeah. So they all, as I say, have a different set of challenges and a different set of rewards. You know, so Knightsbridge is fantastic. Knightsbridge is going to be a beautiful community. You know, it's going to be very nice. Kensington is going to be a fantastic family community. I think it's going to have more potential as it's going to be a great mix of people there. It's more attainable than Knightsbridge, because Knightsbridge is, obviously it's quite expensive. I think Kensington is more attainable. Then again, with some of the buildings that we've done, then you have a different demographic. So you're serving different demographics all the time, which I think is very important, because this word luxury. This word luxury is kind of
used a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets used a lot, and for what? For us, I try to use the word quality. Yeah. Let's deliver a quality product. It doesn't matter whether it's in Maidan, in D11, in Knightsbridge, or it's in DLRC, or it's in JVC, or it's in JVT. That doesn't matter. You still, doesn't matter if it's a marble, or it's a ceramic, or it's a porcelain tile, a Villeroy-en-Bosch toilet, or a rack toilet. It's the installation of that product and the quality and attention that's put into the installation of that product that makes a difference. A product that's going to last, a product that's going to serve the people living in that apartment for longevity, for a long period of time. That's what's important to me, more so than this, So you have to, again, what I think with designers, I think you have to design for the region that you're in, and for the skill levels and the artisans and the craftsmen that are here. Yeah. In some places, in the UK, obviously, there's this fantastic joiners, fantastic tradesmen, and fantastic artisans, which perhaps you don't have here a lot of the time. Yeah. So don't design something that is not executable by the actual team that's carrying out that piece of work, right? Because it won't work. Yeah. It just doesn't work. It can be a beautiful design, but how do you execute that? That's what you got to think about, right? So that's more the way I think about it. For me, so as I say to you, there's not. I haven't got an absolute favorite. Yeah. I like each of the projects for different reasons. I think what I like about us is that we try to service the whole community, right? Not just for high net worth individuals or middle class or upper middle class, whatever. We try to serve, everybody through that whole chain.
It's a lot like asking someone who their favourite child is, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Except for the redhead. No?
Yeah, exactly. They all get it. Yeah. And rounded up today, we have seen over the past 50 years in this country, what a journey. What a real estate development journey unlike anywhere else in the world. Yep. There's been so many different kinds of buildings, from obviously the big towers to begin with, to low-rise communities, things like you said, JVC becoming the first kind of suburb community. Yep. What do you think the next era of real estate is going to be in Dubai? Is there any direction you particularly see that going towards?
It's just expansion, isn't it? It's just expansion. And as we said, with the new technologies coming in, as I said, AI, which I say AI, but I don't understand it, but I can quote it. Not yet. In fact, I'm meeting somebody next week to talk about it, get an in-depth knowledge of, or try and get an in-depth knowledge of exactly how it works. And, we can all use it to a certain degree, but understanding what's behind it is what I want to see. And I really want to understand the extent where we can take that to, and where we can take to, particularly in the business that we're in. It's got to get better, and it's always going to get better, because there's always new ideas. And as I said to you, competition, and there's more and more competition. So it can only get better. It can only drive the quality up. Yeah. And I think that's very important. And the other thing I want to say is that I wish I'd got here 20 years ago or 10 years ago. So I'm saying to you, if any of your audience in the UK is looking, all you young professionals, get over here now. The opportunities are here, right? Be part of building the city. Yeah. That for me, that's to have that opportunity, to be invited to be part of building the city, part of this legacy, it's an incredible part of the journey for me. Yeah.
No. And what a way for us to end today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Mark, that's been honestly absolutely fascinating. It's given me an insight.
I haven't bored you too much then.
I've honestly learned so much with it today. I'm sure a lot of the listeners, viewers out there as well, because I think we all...
The ones that are still awake.
No, but we all see so much of the real estate broker side of it.
Yeah,
The people
yeah.
actually selling the properties,
Yeah.
the people delivering them.
Yeah.
What we don't see is the actual hard graft, dedication, work that goes into behind the
I'm
scenes.
just a simple Irish builder. Yeah?
But it's been an absolutely fantastic episode.
Great.
Thank you for joining us and wishing you and Leos Developments all the best in the future. For everyone who's tuned in, thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share, follow, subscribe. Helps us keep bringing you all of this content. We've got some great guests over the next few weeks. One who's very big in AI, actually, so you'll have to tune in.
Excellent.
So please do tune in for that. And until then, keep raising the bar.